Welcome to the second instalment of Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Once again we join the survivors as they continue their campaign in search of a new water chip. After Game 1, some improvements were made to their new base at the Red Rocket Station. With a total of 312 caps earned, the survivors purchased the following: 2 lockers for item storage, 1 maintenance shed for retaining an item after a battle, the gun nut rifle perk, the armourer perk, which both give a free weapons bench and an armour bench respectively. A sniper mod was drawn and sold for 10 caps, a ballistic weave was drawn but kept for now. The crashed vertibird card was drawn, but unfortunately Elliot failed the luck test, which meant no items were drawn. After turning the Red Rocket Station into a secure base, they decided to put their focus once again towards finding the water chip. On investigation of the building, Lucy finds a manifest of Vault-Tec equipment to be taken to a temporary storage yard at the Red Rocket Diner, not too far from their location. Agreeing it would be a good place to start looking, the survivors go to investigate. Climbing through some broken fencing, the survivors saw an old lorry and some piles of junk scattered around that might be worth a look. In his boredom, Butch kicked a tin can into the diner, waking up a glowing one and a horde of feral ghouls. Across the battlefield are 3 possible locations where this intel could be hidden. Out of 3, the survivors are required to find at least 2 by the end of turn 5. The ghouls' objective is far more simple: kill the survivors and rid them from their territory. During the first turn, the settler does a simple double move to get into range of the nearby objective for the next turn. Next up is the fire ghoul, who does a simple double move to get to the centre of the board. The cowboy ghoul takes aim at the red ghoul just moved up the map, takes a shot with his rifle and manages to hit. The red ghoul fails its save and takes a total of 3 points of damage. Ouch. The blue wheat ghoul takes a simple double move to get further up the board. Dogmeat also takes a double move just to get further into the centre of the board and put some pressure on the ghouls. The golfer ghoul does a double move heading towards the right hand flank of the board. The settler with a bolt action pipe rifle takes aim at the fire ghoul, but unfortunately rolls a critical fail. The comms ghoul takes a double move up the board, getting a position at the centre. Lucy takes a double walk onto the pumping station, possibly heading for that objective on the far left hand side of the board. The rest of the turn is spent with every single model simply doing a double move just to get further up the board and to put themselves into a better position to either engage the enemy or to take some objectives. As you can see from the panning out shot, it seems that the ghouls have just done their best to move up as fast as they can, whereas the survivors seem to be keeping quite evenly spread out, trying to claim each of the 3 objectives, as is their main priority. At the start of turn 2 we begin with the Cowboy Ghoul once again sighting on the Fireman Ghoul. He rolls and manages to hit. Due to all the extra damage from the roll, there's no point in the Fire Ghoul even rolling an armour save. The damage going through is more than enough to kill him in a single shot. The Ghoul, taking the second shot, takes sights onto the Scoutmaster and fires again. He manages to hit, and the Scoutmaster completely flumps his roll. The amount of damage goes through is enough to kill the Scoutmaster in a single shot. What a turn for the Cowboy Ghoul. The Brown Weak Ghoul then moves up the table and attempts to charge Dogmeat, unfortunately fails the agility roll required, so instead he has to take another move, but just stops a little bit short outside of charge range. Fortunately lost the footage for Dogmeat's attack against the Brown Ghoul, however he did manage to roll a critical hit, an armour break and some bonus damage, meaning that the Brown Weak Ghoul took a total of 3 points of damage. The Red Weak Ghoul then takes a double move, moving between the red barrels, heading towards Butch and Lucy on the flank of the board. Lucy then sets her sight on the approaching weak Red Ghoul and takes a shot with her pistol. Managing to hit and scoring 2 points of bonus damage, the Ghoul completely fails his save and takes 3 points of damage. She then goes for a second shot, hits with a critical, and there's no point in the Ghoul even making a save. If we were to make the 1, the damage would still be enough to kill him, so Lucy manages to double tap the Red Ghoul, killing it in a single activation. The Blue Ghoul does a double move up the centre, bearing down on the rest of the survivors. The Scavenger then attempts a perception check on the marker nearby, but unfortunately fails. The second attempt isn't any better and fails again, unfortunately wasting their entire turn. The Comms Ghoul then continues his movement up the centre, coming at a rest near the radiation barrels. Butch then takes double move round the outside, attempting to skirt around the radiation barrels to avoid the harmful effects at the start of his next activation. The Police Ghoul then moves up to try and intercept Butch, but just hangs back a little bit, just keeping within that distance of the radiation barrels in case he needs some healing later. The Settler, with a bolt-action pipe rifle, sets their sights on the weak Blue Ghoul in the centre. The first shot manages to hit, and the Ghoul fails its save, taking 2 damage. She then shoots him again, and hits, and with the bonus damage is enough to kill the Ghoul without it even requiring an armour save. Now over to the Glowing One, who continues its stealthy advance through the donor itself, passing over one of the objective markers and aiming for the Scavenger on the outskirts. The Golfer Ghoul also decides to advance on Butch and attempts a roll for an agility test to be able to do a longer charge but fails, instead only managing to take a double walk action. The Armoured Ghoul continues with a move. We start off turn 3 with the Ghoul's advantage, beginning with the Brown Weak Ghoul in the centre. He takes a swipe at Dogmeat and the first one misses, however the second swipe does land. Dogmeat manages to save on a 2, but does take 1 automatic radiation damage. Dogmeat then activates next and immediately goes for a dog bite. The single armour break is enough to the damage goes through, immediately killing the weak Ghoul. He then attempts a perception check at the icon on top of the red barrels, but unfortunately fails. The Police Ghoul then attempts his agility roll to charge at Butch to gain the charge bonus. He fails, so has to walk up to Butch instead, not gaining that bonus dice. The attack hits, and Butch rolls a 4 on his armour save, which is a fail. His faction armour absorbs 1 point of damage, but Butch takes 2. We didn't record it, but he did manage to save the 1 rad damage thanks to his vault suit. In retaliation, Butch takes a swipe back at the Ghoul with his switchblade. The first attack's a hit, rolling a nuka bottle to ignore armour. He hits the ghoul for 3 damage on the first attack. The second attack he misses as it's a reaction at a -2, and then for his second proper attack he misses that one as well. The comms ghoul, remembering some of his training from his military life, moves up behind cover to get some of the characters around within that debuff range of his comms pack. Lucy takes another double move straight up the centre, heading for the objective at the back. Realising that it's now turn 3 and the survivors should probably think about getting a move on to score some objectives. The putrid glowing one then moves up and attempts to charge at the scavenger but fails. He is just out of range to be able to move into contact, but rolls a nuka bottle and is able to use his radiation blast ability, causing 1 radiation damage on the scavenger. The scavenger then decides that being next to a putrid glowing one is not a good place to be. We forgot to record the quick action attack against it from the glowing one, but he did miss, so the settler takes a move and walks away into the entrance of the red rocket. The armoured ghoul, then seeing some new prey approaching, moves in and takes a swipe at the scavenger that's just approached. He manages to hit with a bonus damage. The settler rolls a 1, blocking 1 damage, and the faction armour absorbing the other, but still takes 1 point of damage and 1 radiation damage. The cowboy ghoul then rounds the corner to take aim at the putrid glowing one. He fires with his rifle and manages to hit. An absolute phenomenal roll, he manages to score a total of 5 points of damage. However, the glowing one takes 1 less damage due to strong armour, taking 4 points of damage in total. The Sunvisor ghoul succeeds with a diving charge and moves into base-to-base contact with Butch. With the charge bonus added, he does take a swing but misses, but however, Butch is now surrounded. The settler, with a bolt action pipe rifle, takes aim at the comms ghoul. The attack hits, and the single armour break means 3 points of damage go straight through. Starting off with turn 4, we begin with Dogmeat. There's a double move to tag the armoured ghoul who's currently threatening the scavenger, unfortunately ending within range of the barrels, meaning he will take radiation damage at the start of his next turn. Next it's the armoured ghoul's turn, who takes a swipe at the unfortunate scavenger nearby. The attack does go through, but unfortunately the scavenger rolls a 3 on his armour, blocking only 1, which means the 2 points of damage coming through and the radiation that follows is enough to kill him for good. The ghoul then turns around to take a swipe at Dogmeat, but fails with a quick action. Next we jump over to Lucy, who sees the peril that stands before Butch. She takes a shot into the crowd and amazingly manages to hit. Unbelievably, Elliot manages to roll a 1, which is the random dice assigned to the police ghoul. Having only 1 health left, the damage is more than enough to kill it, even if it makes its armour save. The police ghoul then dies. Lucy then uses her last remaining action to move up to the objective nearby. The Sunvisor ghoul then decides to take a swipe at Butch. He hits with the first attack, which Butch blocks and no damage goes through. With the second attack, the ghoul does hit with an extra damage. Butch manages to block 2, and the faction armour should have blocked the third one, but we made a mistake by putting a damage token down, so we can just ignore that. Then we go over to Butch himself, who decides the objective is more important than stabbing a ghoul in the face, and decides to retreat. The ghoul takes a swipe at -2, but thankfully misses, and Butch moves over to the objective. While not able to do any actions on the objective this turn, he does flip it to reveal a locked box, with a trap that might go off in his face if he does not successfully pick it. Next up, it's the common Ghoul's turn, whose screeching static ability, as shown on screen, gives a -2 to a character nearby. We decide to give it to the gunslinging Ghoul. He then walks up to the Ghoul and takes a swipe, but unfortunately misses. Ghoul on Ghoul action. The settler with a bolt action pipe rifle then settles on the damaged glowing one nearby. The first shot misses with an 8 and goes wild. The second one is a critical fail, unfortunately missing both shots. Future glowing one then decides to move up into the fray. It does a single move and attempts the agility charge but fails. However, it takes another walk to end up into combat with the cowboy Ghoul. He then attempts his radiation blast and it does go off, but then we recall that Ghouls are immune to radiation damage. It should have healed the guy next to him, but we forgot. The cowboy Ghoul, not liking how the situation is looking, decides to fall back. The comms Ghoul takes a -2 quick action attack and misses. The glowing one, however, does manage to hit, but the Ghoul's armour saves. He then moves out, shoots and hits the comms Ghoul for 6 damage in total. No save required, as it'll just go straight through and kill him. In total, that makes around 10 points of damage in 2 shots from the cowboy Ghoul. He's an excellent piece on the table indeed. After being awoken from their slumber in a nearby building, the red and blue weak Ghouls both decide to move up the board at full speed towards those who rudely awoke them. The final turn of the game, turn 5, begins with a red Ghoul who makes a single move and a failed charge attempt at Dogmeat, so instead takes a double move to get into base contact. Lucy activates next and moves up to the nearby objective. Successfully rolling a 3 to pick the lock on the objective, securing 1 out of the 3. In doing so, she receives a Nuka-Cola victory from the previous event card and unbelievably also managed to find some T60 power armour. Hi Bailey. The blue weak feral Ghoul nearby takes a charge at Lucy and manages to hit successfully with an attack. She fails the armour save, however her faction armour soaks up 1 damage and she only takes 1 damage in return. Her vault suit manages to save the other rad damage. Then we move over to Butch, who attempts to pick the lock on the other objective. He succeeds and manages to locate a laser rifle, one lucky find right after another. As his final action, he attempts a pot shot at the Sun Visor Ghoul, but unfortunately misses. But at this stage, the survivors have successfully secured 2 out of the 3 objectives and now are on the path towards victory. The glowing one then sets his sights on the Ghoul Cowboy and goes for the charge, and this time amazingly he actually makes it. With the charge bonus die included, he hits the Ghoul for 2 damage as the Ghoul fails his armour save. The faction armour absorbs 1 and he takes 1 point of damage. In retaliation, the gunslinging Ghoul activates next. He attempts to withdraw away from the glowing one, and the glowing one takes a -2 attack. He manages to hit, but the Ghoul makes the 2 armour saves so no damage is dealt, and he's also immune to radiation. He takes a shot at the glowing one with his rifle, manages to hit, overall scoring 4 points of damage. The glowing Ghoul manages to save 1 with his armour dice, and his super armour absorbs 1, dealing 2 points of damage in total. The armoured Ghoul then takes a swipe at Dogmeat with his charge bonus. The first attack misses, but unfortunately the second one does hit. Dogmeat rolls a 1 on his armour save, meaning that blocks 1 damage. The other damage is blocked by his faction bonus. However, another point of rad damage does go through. The settler goes in and aims her bolt action pipe rifle at the glowing one, lines up a shot, but unfortunately misses again. The Sun Visor Ghoul takes aim at Butch once more, attempts agility roll and fails, so he takes a double walk, gets into base contact with Butch, but can do nothing else. Next up is Dogmeat, and unfortunately, due to standing in the proximity of the radiation barrels, he takes yet another point of rad damage, taking him to 3 points of rad. He goes for a dog bite against the armoured ghoul with his first attack. Due to his dice rolls, he breaks 2 out of 3 armour. The ghoul fails his armour save and takes 2 damage, as well as a broken arm. His second attack also hits, the ghoul saves 1 and takes 1 damage. And there we have it, that concludes the end of the game. The survivors were successful, as they managed to find 2 out of the 3 objectives before turn 5, driving back the ghouls in the process. Unfortunately, upon examining the manifest, it was reported that there was a mix-up of the vehicles during the hectic last few days before the bombs were dropped. So they may find some information leading them onto another path, but for now, the water chip location remains a mystery. But not all is lost. They hear a scuffling, some noises, some screams, and a bloody splatter coming from the back of a nearby lorry. After cautiously opening, they see that there is a damaged Mr. Handy waiting in the back. He's not currently in an operational state, but perhaps with some tinkering and some new parts, he can make an addition to the team one day in the future. Perhaps the Mr. Handy might know some information about this water chip's location, but for now it remains a mystery. As they're making their way back to the settlement, Butch's Pip-Boy picks up a strange radio signal. A certain radio DJ talking about fighting the good fight. I seem to know that voice from somewhere, but I can't quite place it. Maybe he too will pop up in the very near future. We hope you've enjoyed this second episode of Wasteland Warfare. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. From Bang Average Gaming, thank you very much, and goodbye for now.